Battleground Texas is at it again. This time we ensnared two of their operatives, turning a blind eye to the possibility their own volunteers could be breaking multiple election laws.
I'm not deputized, but there was a point where, we were in a group, and so anyway, there was a point where somebody handed me a voter registration card, and so I don't know how it happened, but I accidentally signed some people up, and wasn't thinking.
That's okay.
And
I mean, it's illegal, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Earlier this year, Project Veritas caught Battleground Texas, an organization working to turn Texas blue and elect Wendy Davis governor, illegally copying voter registration data for campaign purposes.
Okay, so every time we register somebody to vote, we keep their name, number, and name, address, phone number.
The undercover video portrays a Battleground Texas election organizer as taking the personal information of voters for future political purposes.
James O'Keefe prompting the Republican Party of Bexar County to call for a full investigation into the voter registration practices of Battleground Texas.
I'd like to ask you a question about improper conduct at Battleground Texas.
I'm going to call the police if you don't get off this property.
Battleground Texas makes no bones about its objectives.
My name is Mimi Marziani, and I'm the Voter Protection Director for Battleground Texas. Voter registration is one of the most important things we do.
In Texas, voter registration can only be performed by deputized voter registrars.
This rule is very, very important. It's a crime to handle a completed registration form without being officially certified as a VDR.
We wondered how seriously they take their own advice and the laws of Texas.
Ronnie, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's so good to see you.
Ronnie is a Project Veritas citizen journalist. She infiltrated Battleground Texas in Houston. Ronnie is not her real name, and she is not a deputized registrar. Emma Bauer works for Battleground Texas and was Ronnie's main contact in the organization.
I'm not deputized, but there was a point where, we were in a group, and so anyway, there was a point where somebody handed me a voter registration card, and so I don't know how it happened, but I accidentally signed some people up, and wasn't thinking.
That's okay.
And
I mean, it's illegal, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Now, to be clear, Ronnie has just informed her superiors that she registered voters, but was not legally deputized to do so.
Do you still have the forms?
I do not.
Okay, do you know where they went?
No, I do not.
Okay, did your name get signed to a form?
We didn't, turn in cards, and so I just kind of threw them out.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that's a problem or...
That is a problem in the sense that we are not allowed to do that.
Ronnie upped the ante by telling Emma that some of the registration forms she filled out she later destroyed because Ronnie had a problem with the people she had registered.
You can't refuse to register someone to vote simply because their views differ from your own.
Ronnie didn't actually register people to vote, nor did she destroy any registration forms. But the people at Battleground certainly seemed to believe she had. When she told the story to a more senior Battleground operative, Sam Krause, he also knew it was wrong and quite possibly illegal.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. The thing about it is, a couple weeks ago, there was a voter registration drive. It was at a park on the west side. But anyway, long story short, I accidentally signed up some people that, without having some deputization. Also, there was another thing, too. There were some people that were kind of giving me a hard time, kind of tossed those in the trash. Regrettably, it was voter registration. Correct.
Do you know where they are? Or are they gone?
They're gone.
The lesson then is that you never throw away voter registration.
Well, of course, yeah, and I know that, but, I'm being upfront about it. But she said...
get deputized.
It's probably a little late for that, but I guess the motto at Battleground Texas is, better late than never.
I went ahead and talked to Sam.
Oh,
and he said, what we were talking about earlier, and he said that, for right now, we're just going to kind of leave it alone.
We're going to follow Sam. As long as it's on me, we're going to follow. I'm all good with that. I am all good with that.
Stan Stannard is the Harris County clerk. He says that if someone knew that voters had been illegally registered or registration forms destroyed, they should have reported it.
So when they don't, the state must come down on people who do not follow the law. We will have them investigated by the DA. If there's anything in dealing with elections that I think is wrong, I'm going to turn it over to the DA to be investigated.
So the consequences would be you would turn that over to the DA?
Correct, yes.
We wanted to know if Battleground Texas had reported the alleged improprieties to election officials. So we went to Sam Krause's apartment one morning last week.
Who's this?
This is James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't talk right now. I'm still getting ready for the day.
You were told recently by an operative, Battleground Texas, that they improperly registered voters and even ripped up the forms. So did you report that conduct to the county or to law enforcement? That's all I need to know. I'm sorry, was that a yes? You said yes or no? Sam? I guess you didn't report it? Okay. Thank you. Hey, Sam, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. How you doing today?
Can you get off my property?
Sure will. Did you report that illegal activity to the county or to law enforcement officials?
Hey, I'm going to call the police if you don't get off this property.
We're public property right here. Sam did not call the police. Sam Krause did not answer our question, which leads me to believe that he did not report the illegal conduct to Texas officials.
So, did Mr. Krause do what he was legally obligated to do and report the voter fraud, the ripping up of the voter registration forms, the taking of the voter registration forms by somebody who was not duly deputized? Did he report that in the first place? Now, as we know, the undercover operative wasn't even actually taking forms and destroyed no forms. That they were fabricating a story just to see what they would do about it. But still, folks, if they were good, law-abiding people, they would have been like, I got to turn you in. Now, they may just say, hey, you made a mistake, and I'll be in your corner for that, but it's my responsibility to turn you in. So that would have been the right thing to do. When someone comes up and says, yeah, I did this. I know it was illegal, but I kind of accidentally did it anyway, kind of accidentally on purpose. So what do we do about it? And their decision to do about it is to cover it up and let's get you deputized as a registrar, after the fact, to cover our butts. That's, that shows that they really don't care about the law. Because if somebody's doing that stuff and they're not deputized and they knew they're supposed to be, and then telling you that they destroyed the forms, if you are a law-abiding, respectable person, you're going to sit back and go, this is not somebody I want to be deputized, because they're going to do stuff and destroy the integrity of the elections. So when we say we won, we probably didn't really, and if we get caught, we get screwed. The whole system gets screwed, and do we really want that, especially when we're in power and the system is who put us in power? That's the mentality that they should have, but that's not the one they do have. They are willing to win by any means necessary. And folks, this kind of mentality dates back longer than I've been alive. I know it's been going on for a long time. It kind of depends on the situation, and a lot of it's been more localized. And as technology has gotten better, it's become easier and easier to kind of stop these things or look out for them or uncover them. But I know prior to my birth, because it's still a kind of a folktale in the Chicago area, Mayor Daley, no, not the one that Rahm Emanuel took over for, but that Mayor Daley's father, the original Mayor Richard Daley, the original one, in one election, there was one ward in particular that was by and large Republican that somehow had an overwhelming number of Democratic votes, and a lot of people think that the boxes were very well stuffed in that particular case, because it would have been a swing ward within Chicago. So there's even been plays and musicals written about it on a local basis in Chicago. And of course, that's where Obama got his political start, was in, well, politically corrupt Chicago. Go figure! Go back and look at, that wonderful former Senator Burris and his corruption, and the last few governors of Illinois, to include the current one, who I'm sure is guilty of corruption. I just haven't seen the proof or evidence yet. But don't worry, he'll fumble up and somebody will do an investigation, and he'll join the stream of his predecessors and end up in jail for corruption, just like Blagojevich. Good old Blago. Of course, I'm being hyperbolic there. I don't know if Quinn has actually done anything illegal or not. I just don't like the guy. I don't like his policies, don't like the fact that he hates the U.S. Constitution, wants to ban guns, and keeps stomping his feet and doing his temper tantrums every time the Supreme Court says your laws are unconstitutional. But we can talk about Illinois and why I will never again reside in that state at another time, folks. Although I do look at the state and go, thank God I don't live there anymore. Meanwhile, talking about Democrats and Democratic stuff, as we start to wind down the show, just remember you guys can call in 520-226-8567. I am your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and I will put you on the air and let you speak your mind instead of you just listening to my big mouth all the time. We had Liz on for a good portion of time on last Friday. I asked her to come on for a few minutes, and she was on for the majority of the hour, and we are very thankful for that. She did a great job, and as usual, and loved having her on the show, and hopefully she'll be back on in the future. And who knows? Let's cross our fingers. Maybe I'll even guest on her regular show. Anyway, speaking about all these candidates and all the things going on that may or may not be so copacetic, we have a couple of cases where we have Democratic Party hopefuls going for governor's races, and they're floundering and stumbling and flopping, and their poll numbers are going down and their opponents' numbers are going up, and some of them even lost a good amount of financial backing from certain donors. And along with their decline, there are a bunch of people hoping to ride their coattails who are now trying to distance themselves at the last minute when it's already probably too late, because they don't want their campaign chances to go down the tubes with these gubernatorial hopefuls. And unfortunately, it might be too late to do the distancing. But a lot of the candidates on local levels, local legislators, and even up to U.S. representatives now, are trying to distance themselves both from Obama and his failing policies, especially Obamacare, because most constituents aren't dumb enough to believe Wasserman Schultz when she claims this, and then the numbers come up behind her and it shows the exact opposite of what she's saying. But they're looking and saying this is just a disaster. Many of Obama's policies are a disaster. They're not working. It's conservative state level executives that are protecting our state from the worst of the damages. Like here in Texas, approximately 1/3 of the jobs created per month, on average, dating back the entire recession, 1/3 of the jobs created to recover have been created per month have been created in Texas. And it's gone anywhere from a quarter to half, but on the average, around 1/3 And is that Obama's policies? No. That is the Texas state's policies doing it despite Obama's policies. So that's what's been going on. So you have some of these Democratic hopefuls, and their campaigns have just been going down and down the toilet, and they haven't helped their campaigns themselves either. Like Ed Fitzgerald in Ohio is running for governor. He talks about his hip replacement surgery, and now it's really interesting how every time he opens his mouth, he has this weird tick where his foot just flies up into it. And you know that's what's happening. And he's been having scandal after scandal after scandal that comes up every time he turns around. And his poll numbers just keep dropping. Well, he's bringing down a lot of local and other office candidates within Ohio. He's bringing them down with him. And they're all trying to distance themselves from him now, too. Scrambling and saying, hey, we're not like him. We're not like Obama. We're the old school Democrats. Well, what do you mean old school? You mean you vote pro Jim Crow laws? That's old school Democrat, right? It's new school too, but we're not going to get into the new names for old laws. And same with good old pink shoes abortion Barbie Wendy Davis. Her kind of decline is even affecting other races to the point where her so-called running mate Leticia Vandepute had to fight tooth and nail against Dan Patrick, and it became nothing but I'm a diehard leftist, and he's a diehard rightist kind of. That's all it really came out of the debate last night from what I've seen of it for the lieutenant governor of Texas. Is it basically is a clean divide between party lines. So if you knew who you were going to vote for, then that's who you're going to vote for. If you're still undecided, well, unfortunately, after last night's debate, you're probably scratching your head even more because they're just very much diehard middle of the ground. One's a diehard conservative and one's a diehard progressive liberal communist, and there's no in between. So that's where that particular race is going to reside. But a lot of the other local races and congressional races going on in Texas, Wendy Davis, instead of being may not win as governor, but will bring in a lot of money and a lot of support. On the flip side, instead of doing what they had hoped with Battleground Texas, again, doing the voter fraud thing down there in Houston that James O'Keefe uncovered, but they've pretty much started backing off their support for Davis as well. And it's even affected the person who's running for Davis's soon-to-be former senator seat. In fact, every liberal rag in Texas is doing their best to sling mud with no backing evidence or data, by the way. It's all false allegations against Connie Burton, who's the Tea Party favorite and friend of Ted Cruz, who's running for Wendy Davis's former Senate seat. So that seat's probably going to turn back red at the way things are going. And a good portion of it is because they don't want to see another Wendy Davis. The last one was bad enough for the Fort Worth area. They're tired of it. So that's what's kind of happening. And then we have one last thing to discuss, folks. And I know time is running short, but real quick, I'm going to let Eleanor speak, and I'm going to
You don't have a right to know everything in a separation of powers government, my friend.
Well, folks, you have a right to know
between
that
parliamentary government and a separation
White House
of powers
insiders have confirmed that Obama is planning to institute his unconstitutional violations of or his unconstitutional amnesty programs, completely bypassing Congress, which is unconstitutional. He's planning on putting these in after the midterm elections, probably after the new year, like around January, right after the new the new people take office, new Congress starts. That's when he's going to sign all these executive actions into law, probably just in time for the State of Union address. That's probably going to be his timing. And that's what they kind of stated on this. Well, a lot of pro-amnesty groups and pro-illegal alien groups are coming out saying, that's too late, Mr. President. You need to do these now. You need to get them completely enacted by Thanksgiving, because every day that you wait, thousands of families are being broken apart. Well, these are types of people who probably think that if one person goes to jail for a crime, that their entire family should join them in there so they're not sitting in there and rotting alone. I'm sorry, but if I had a relative who was a mass murderer, I wouldn't want to be in a jail cell next to him because he did something wrong.